Good day. Welcome to Bible Class Topics. This week we add a lesson to our expository playlist. This one's entitled Wisdom, True and False. We're going to take as our text today James chapter 3 verses 13 through 18. And we'll take the reading from the ESV. Who is wise and understanding among you? By his good conduct let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and be false to the truth. This is not the wisdom that comes down from above, but it's earthly, it's unspiritual, it's demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere. And a harvest of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. We got out our Bible dictionary, Vine's Dictionary of New Testament Words, and we looked up the word wisdom, and we see there's two words in the New Testament that we can see for wisdom. One means the insight into the true nature of things, and the second one is the ability to discern modes of action with a view to their results. Well, with those two definitions in mind, it's easy to see that one can be wise and yet be evil. Think of the parable that Jesus told in Luke chapter 16, verses 1 through 8. He also said to the disciples, there was a rich man who had a manager, and charges were brought to him that this man was wasting his possessions. And he called him and said to him, "What is this that I hear about you? Turn in the account of your management, for you can no longer be manager." And the manager said to himself, "What shall I do since my master is taking the management away from me? I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. I've decided what to do so that when I am removed from management, people may receive me into their houses." So summoning his master's debtors one by one, he said to the first, "How much do you owe my master?" He said, 100 measures of oil. He said to him, "Take your bill and sit down quickly and write 50. Then he said to another, "And how much do you owe?" And he said, 100 measures of wheat. He said to him, "Take your bill and write down 80. The master commended this dishonest manager for his shrewdness. For the sons of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than the sons of light." We won't take time today to break this parable down, but we do see that what Jesus calls shrewdness is often taken for wisdom in the world that we live in today. So, can one be wise? Can one be shrewd and yet be evil? Obviously, whatever else we get from this parable, we see that that is true. Satan himself is wise in an evil way. He was wise using wisdom when he tricked Eve into sinning. He applied his wisdom at even a time such as when he tempted Jesus in the desert. Therefore, we want to talk about in this lesson, as we've already read in the James reading, two sources of wisdom. Human, we might as well say, from the devil, and divine, that is wisdom that comes from above, that is wisdom from God. In the James passage, he began with wisdom from below. Here are 6 characteristics of that wisdom that we can see from this passage and perhaps another passage that we'll read in a few moments. He says wisdom from below is earthly. Its standards and its sources come from this earth. It's the kind of wisdom that measures success in worldly terms, and its aims are worldly aims. He said wisdom from below is unspiritual. That means it's no better than the wisdom possessed by animals. It's a wisdom that only looks out for worldly survival and doesn't look into the future beyond this world. Wisdom from below, is, as we've already mentioned, is from the devil. It's demonic. The devil is its source, certainly not God. This kind of wisdom produces results that won't delight God at all, but will delight Satan. Wisdom from below doesn't clarify things, it confuses things. In its arrogance, it causes disorder. It drives people apart. It causes confusion and strife. Wisdom from below spawns every evil work. It uses the skill of wisdom to cause trouble and to disturb personal relationships. I was reading William Barclay's commentary on the letters of James and Peter, pages 93 and 94, when I came upon these ideas of what earthly, unspiritual, demonic, confusing, and wisdom that spawns evil works actually means. Let's add a sixth thing to wisdom from below. Wisdom from below is foolishness to God. 1 Corinthians 3:19 through the first part of verse 21, Paul said, "For the wisdom of this world is folly with God. For it is written, He catches the wise in their craftiness." And again, "The Lord knows the thoughts of the wise, that they are futile. So let no man boast, and let no one boast in men." That takes us back to our parable from Luke 16. The dishonest manager was shrewd. He was doing what worldly people do, looking out for themselves first. This kind of wisdom is foolishness with God. But what about the wisdom from above? Well, that takes us back to verse 17 and 18 of our reading from James chapter 3. First, we see that wisdom from above is pure. While worldly wisdom might wish to escape God's sight, true wisdom is pure and able to withstand God's scrutiny. In 1 Timothy 4:12, the Apostle Paul said, "Command and teach these things, let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and purity." And then later on in that same book, chapter 5, verses 1 and 2, "Do not rebuke an older man, but encourage him as you would a father, younger men as your brother, older women as mothers, younger women as sisters." How should you do it? In all purity. The book of 1 and 2 Timothy and also Titus are good things for us to read, because these are instructions given to Paul to young preachers as to how they should go about conducting their ministry. Wisdom from above is pure. It's able to withstand God's scrutiny. Wisdom from above is peaceable. A right relationship between man and God, and a right relationship between man and man. An arrogant, cruel, or depraved wisdom is incapable of establishing and maintaining these relationships. In Romans 12:18, "If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all." Not just with other Christians, with your neighbors, with people from different cultures, different backgrounds. If possible, he said, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. And then in chapter 14, verse 19, he says, so let us pursue what makes for peace and for mutual upbuilding, mutual edification. Wisdom from above is gentle, or another word that we could use is considerate. This wisdom knows when to forgive, when to make allowances, when to give up its own rights, and how to temper justice with mercy. In his commentary, Matthew Arnold calls this characteristic of godly wisdom sweet reasonableness. In 1 Thessalonians 5:11 and 13, Paul said, therefore encourage one another and build one another up, just as you're doing. We ask you, brothers, to respect those who labor among you and are over you in the Lord and admonish you, and to esteem them very highly in love because of their work. We need to be considerate of one another. That's wisdom from above. Wisdom from above is easy to be entreated. It's not self-willed. It's not stubborn. True wisdom is not rigid, but is willing to listen and skilled in knowing when to yield. True wisdom is full of mercy and good fruits. Christian pity extends to a person in trouble even if it's their own fault. Christian mercy extends practical help. We can never say we have truly pitied someone unless we have given them a helping hand. In the Philippian letter, chapter 1, verse 9 through 11 and following, Paul says, it is my prayer that your love may abound more and more, with knowledge and all discernment, there's wisdom, so that you may approve what is excellent, and so be pure and blameless for the day of Christ, filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ to the glory and praise of God. When wisdom from above is applied, mercy will be had and good fruits will come. Wisdom from above is administered without partiality. It's undivided. It's unwavering. True wisdom is willing to make up its mind and take a stand. Often what people mean when they say they have an open mind is that they're actually unwilling to decide. True wisdom takes sides based strictly on God's Word. Back to 1 Timothy chapter 5, Paul's instructions to the young preacher, this time verse 21 and 22, in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus and of the elect angels, I charge you to keep these rules without prejudging. Do nothing from partiality. Do not be hasty in the laying on of hands, nor take part in the sins of others. Keep yourself pure. We're back to step one. Wisdom from above must be pure. In the Old Testament, speaking of someone who didn't use good wisdom from above, that's Jacob. Jacob was partial. He was partial to one of his wives. He was partial to one of his sons. The end result of that partiality, Joseph ended up in a pit and then sold into slavery. If you'd like to read more about Joseph, I would highly recommend Charles Swindoll's biography of Joseph. It's available in paperback on Amazon at a very reasonable price. Finally, wisdom from above is not only pure, peaceable, gentle, not self-willed, full of mercy and good fruits, and it's administered without partiality, it's also administered without hypocrisy. True wisdom does not deal in deception. It never acts a part to gain its own ends. Romans 12:9, let love be genuine. Abhor what is evil, hold fast to what is good. When we think of wisdom being applied wrong, we think about the Pharisees and the scribes of the time of Jesus. How many times did he have to call these people hypocrites? And then he would say that their teaching was not that insignificant. But the fact that they taught others and then did not do what they preached made them the biggest hypocrites of their time. Once again, I looked at William Barclay's commentary, the letters of James and Peter, this time pages 94 through 98, to see what he had to say about wisdom from above. If we look at James chapter 13:18, that's wrong. James 3:18. And we look at it from the RSV, listen to it. The harvest of righteousness is sown in peace by who? Those who make peace. Nothing good will ever grow out of an atmosphere of where men are at odds with each other. The seeds of righteousness will not take root in the barren soil of bitterness and strife. Even a wise man like Solomon could use his wisdom for evil. We know he did. He knew politically it was brilliant for him to marry all of these different princesses from all these different nations. But in the end, all of his wives drew him away from the one true God and into idolatry. He used his wisdom eventually for evil. Matthew 10:16, Jesus said, behold, I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. In Luke 16, verse 8, the master commended the dishonest manager for his shrewdness. Remember our parable that we read earlier? He commended him for his shrewdness, for his wisdom. For the sons of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than the sons of light. Brilliant men, wise men, can be evil. If Solomon can turn to using his wisdom for evil, obviously we must guard ourselves. Once we understand what good wisdom involves, then we must apply it. Let's back up a chapter in James to chapter 2, verses 14 through 17. What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? Here's the point of wisdom. Here's the point that we made earlier, that wisdom must be full of mercy and good works. Listen to what he says. If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, be warmed and filled, without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead faith. Step one in applying wisdom from above, then, is to follow the wisest man who ever walked the earth, and that's not Solomon. That's Jesus. Jesus Christ, the one and only Son of God. This is another sermon outline I found in the book, The Sermons of R.C. White, published in 1945. This is from page 91 and 92. Thank you for watching. Thank you for studying with me. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Your support of the channel is greatly appreciated. I enjoy so much each time we come together to study, and I pray that it's doing me well and doing you well too. Till we meet again next time, may God bless.